Are you having trouble finding good subcontractors? In this video, I'm sharing keys to keeping good subcontractors around and have them ready to work on your projects. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video about government contracting and business advice. Now, I understand it's hard to find good subcontractors. I hear it all the time. So I'm going to share with you some of the strategies I've used to find subcontractors that provide good quality work and that work within the schedule and deliver on time. I've helped thousands of small business owners grow their companies with the help of subcontractors. And here's the reality. Let me just say this. If your goal is to take your business and make the move to government contracting and then take advantage of the $1 million contracting opportunities that are available, you're going to need subcontractors. Even if your goal is just to maybe cross over to $1 million a year with government contracts, you're going to need subcontractors. And then think about it, depending on what service you're currently providing, you know whether you can do it all on your own or if you will need help. And then you also know as you get into larger contracts, longer contracts, multiple contracts, you're only one person. So at some point, you're going to encounter having to have subcontractors. So if you're not there yet, the goal is to get there, but you're going to need subcontractors. This video is for you. So in essence, I help you guys find subcontractors that's dependable. They're dependable. They can provide the quality of work that you like to provide. They stay on time, within budget. Those are the good subcontractors you want. So with this video, I'm excited to be able to help you attract good subcontractors. So with this video, I'm excited to help you in attracting and keeping high quality subcontractors around. So the first thing is communication. I don't know why we skip over communication all the time, but communication is key. It's kind of like, if you think about life in general, everything revolves around communication and being able to do that effectively. Well, it's no different in running your business, and especially with your subcontractors. Being able to communicate effectively is very, very important, meaning they need to know what you say is what you mean, and they need to be able to understand what you're saying. So you have to be able to communicate in a way that they can understand what you're saying, take that information and execute on it. Now, not only that, you have to be available and open to communication as well. And that's on both sides, okay? So you can't have a situation where your subcontractor needs to talk to you about something on your project and it takes them days to be able to get in touch with you. Because all that is doing is pushing your schedule back, because now they're not working because they're waiting to hear from you. Same thing is if they don't be readily available and open to communicating with you when you reach out to them. Then if you have an opportunity for them, or maybe there's a change that needs to happen on the project and you want to tell them about it and make sure they understand it's not happening, right? So they could go ahead and do something else that was on the schedule prior versus what you now want them to focus on. Now, that's just verbal, but keep in mind, communication is also written. So you have to be able to write effectively and make sure they understand what is being said and what they need to do. Now, it's the same thing with, you think about your scope of work on projects. So you need to be able to read the scope of work and visualize and execute to get to the finish line as well. So it's the same thing with communicating with your subcontractors, whether you're doing it verbally or in writing. It has to be clear, understandable, and it has to flow effectively and consistently, and both channels have to be open to that. Okay? The second thing I want you to do when working with your subcontractors is set the expectations up front. Whatever expectations you have, whether it's the type of work they're going to do, materials you want them to use, how you want them to communicate with you, set the expectations, timelines, the schedule. How are you going to pay them? What do you need from them in order to pay them? Do they have to invoice you? When should they invoice you? What all need to be included in the invoice? Do you also want to see their insurance with their invoice? Do you have to do certified payroll? So do they need to include that with their invoice? Whatever you need from them in order to pay them, let them know that up front as well. How will the paper flow? Who will be the contact? Set all the expectations up front, and then you'll have a smooth running project throughout because the expectations are set, and they can't come back and say, well, I didn't know that you wanted me to do that, or that's not what you said. Set the expectations. Now, the third thing with subcontractors is, and these aren't in any particular order, but the third thing is you want to make sure you're seeking out subcontractors. Too often, and well, let me just give you an example. So I have a client, they won one contract, so now they're looking at another contract. Well, now they need more subcontractors. The project is due, I think we're talking 9 days maybe. No, it was less than a week when they came to me with it. So less than a week project bid is due. And they're looking for subcontractors. So in essence, that's really not a lot of time to give a subcontractor to get some numbers in. And then you, on top of that, you have to put the final numbers together. It's not enough time. So you should always be seeking subcontractors. Remember, the goal is to what? 1, get to $1 million a year as a government contractor. 2, you want to get to those $1 million contracts. And 3, you want to get to multiple contracts at a time. Well, how do you do that? Is with subcontractors, and you have to build the base before you need it. And if you want really great subcontractors, high quality subcontractors, and have great relationships with them, you need to start cultivating, building those relationships before you need them. And then if an opportunity, I mean, it's gravy, and it comes up and you only have a week to put the numbers together, and it's a subcontractor that you work with all the time, then they may put in that extra effort and get those numbers to you quickly. But if this is your first contact with them, they don't really know you. And so it's like, why should they stop what they're doing to help you because you waited to the last minute? So here's a saying that we have around my community, and contracting officers live by this too. Your lack of preparation is not my emergency. So when you think about that, and when you're taking action, remember that. You can't always put your subcontractors under the gun, under a tight time frame like that, when it's really, really unrealistic, because they have their own projects that they're working on things they're doing in their business. So you can't expect them to drop everything because you waited to the last minute. So be proactive. Always be building your pipeline of subcontractors. Now, the fourth thing is you want to keep them fed. I'm not talking food, but that's cool too. You could always go out to the project and, drop off donuts and coffee in the morning, or drop off lunch sometimes. They're trying to get it done. They're skipping lunch, working through the schedule. Or even if they're not skipping lunch, but cultivating a relationship, and a good one. You can take them to lunch, drop off lunch, keep them fed. And that's just the food, but that's not really what I'm talking about. But that works too. Keep them fed with leads and other job opportunities. So if you have subcontractors that are high quality, they're doing the work, they're always on time, on schedule, within budget, all of those great things. If you keep them actively working, they'll always be working with you. Okay? And then the other thing is, think about this. If you hear of an opportunity that they can do the work, why not share it with them? Here's an example. I had a contractor do some electrical work here in my home, and it was a cool guy. And so, I had him do a few things. He didn't try to get over on me in pricing or any of that great stuff. He was really, really a great guy in coming out doing the work. So I'm like, have you thought about government contracting? So as he would come out and do different things, I would just tell him about government contracting. I even shared some accounting things with him because I do have an accounting background, and he just happened to ask me because he saw the stuff here in my office. And so he asked me, what did I do, that kind of thing. And so I even helped him and his wife with their accounting system. But anyway, back to the electrical part and government contracting. So I would tell him about government contracting and different things. And then next thing I knew, he had a contract with the school system. How cool is that? Keeping your subcontractors fed. It costs you nothing to say, hey, did you know they were looking for a bid on this? Or did you know you could also do this? They will appreciate that. Keep them fed. So you may not have work for them at this time, but you've heard about an opportunity that they could probably do some work with. All right. That's a great one. Now here's the next one. Make sure you have their back. And, don't just say, I got your back, or, we're looking out for you, but show them. Me personally, I always say actions speak louder than words. People can spit off a bunch of words, but actions always speak louder than words. Because people can say anything and don't mean it. So for example, say there's an issue with the project and the customer, your client, is wrong. You know they're wrong. So do you stand up for your subcontractor, or do you side with the customer just because they're the customer? Now, I don't believe that the customer is always right, because sometimes they can be wrong too. So think about your subcontractors, because they're really a customer as well. They're a client of yours as well. You have to treat them correctly, treat them right as well. So don't tell them you have their back, show them you have their back. So if your client is saying, hey, they didn't do this right, or we really wanted this and they did this wrong, and in the blueprints, for example, it says what the subcontractor actually did, then you should be sticking up for your subcontractor. Even if they said, well, we told you we wanted you to do this different. Most of you guys know any changes, change orders, anything like that, always get it in writing. So if it's not in writing, it doesn't happen. Okay? So stick up for your subcontractors. Have their back. Don't just say it, but show them that you have their back. And then just in taking care of them, things can happen. Things can happen that is out of our control. And so if those situations come up, support your subcontractors, because without them, you couldn't get the work done. So you need them just as much as they need you. Build a relationship that's mutually beneficial and outrageously profitable. Now, let's talk about some ways you can find some good, high quality subcontractors. Ask the subcontractors that you're already working with. Ask others in your industry that are using the same type of subcontractors even. Who do they use? You can also talk to your vendors and see who are they providing supplies for all the time. Because if that's the case, they're having repeat work, they're doing a good job, right? So who are they working with? You can also go out on social media and find subcontractors as well. So the referral system always work. And then you can also use social media. And then here's something else you could do. A bunch of the larger companies, they will have what they call meet and greets, where they have a project opportunity that's coming up and they're looking for subcontractors. And so they will hold like a little meet and greet, and they'll have subcontractors come in that is interested in working on that particular project. Again, meet and greet. So you'll get to know the subcontractors, see what their capacity is, see what type of work they can perform, that kind of thing. And so you can build a database that way as well. Now, if this is resonating with you, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Now, I have a question. Are you looking for subcontractors? Let me know in the comments, yes or no, no or yes, down in the comments. Another great thing, let me tell you something else we do before I get into the next thing. Another thing that I do in my community on our training calls and different things like that is I encourage my clients to network amongst themselves. So anytime someone new come into the community, we always like for them to tell us who they are, where they're joining from, and what service or products do they provide? Who you are, where you're joining from. Why do we want to know where you're joining from? Because you may have someone else in the group that's looking at a project where you're at, and then you guys can partner, or you could be their sub or something like that. So remember that. Now, the next thing is you should teach and guide them. Okay? Think of it like this. You're a level up on them, right? If they're your sub up under you. So there's something, there's always something, there's always a piece of knowledge that we can provide someone. Anytime I do a free training, I always tell the people at the very beginning, those that are joining, I said, at the very least, my goal is for you to leave at least with one nugget, one thing that you can take action on. Now, a lot of times they get multiple things, but at the very least, one thing, one nugget that you can take action on, or maybe it's a light bulb moment. I didn't think about that. Here's a different perspective. Always let them leave better than they came, meaning feed into them, guide them, mentor them. You could even do this with your subcontractors. Say you have multiple contractors, they're bidding on opportunities with you, but this contractor didn't win the award with you. You could tell them why. Why not? Help them so that next time they could be better prepared. They can be ready. And then also provide resources. You have resources, share your resources. Whether it's an accounting system, remember I said the electrician that came to my house, so we talked about QuickBooks as an accounting system for them. Maybe the resource is, hey, did you know you could do work with the government? Did you know they have opportunities set aside for minorities, for service-disabled veterans, for women-owned businesses and things? Share resources. So it could be an actual opportunity. It could be a relationship. It could be some type of software or system that they could use that would make things easier for them. Maybe it's a funding company, somewhere they could go get financing. Share resources. If you get to know your subcontractors, you will know what their needs are. And then show appreciation. I never understand how, I don't know, some of you may disagree with me, and you can let me know in the comments. That's cool. But I believe we're working on projects for a profit, right? So I work with clients that are doing work to make a profit, not nonprofits, but for-profit businesses. So the goal is always to make a profit. So if I'm working with subcontractors and, we're working together all the time, and so they're helping me deliver on time, on schedule, within budget, that means my profit margin is set and it's going to be what we projected it to be. Show some appreciation. It doesn't take a lot to show appreciation. It could be a small gift. It could be taking them out to lunch or dinner. It could be annually, maybe you have some type of Christmas party for all your subcontractors, and you raffle off different gifts and things like that. And they don't have to pay to be in the raffle, right? You just pass out the raffle tickets and you raffle things off like that. Thanksgiving, you could, give them turkeys, is what they used to do in the past. What I do is I used to just give a gift card. You go buy your own turkey, or if you don't buy a turkey, that's fine too. But, here's some money, get a turkey. And then you could do the same thing at Christmas. You can give a monetary gift, or you could give some type of gift, something that they could use in the field, within their business. As you get to know them, you'll know what gift would be great. But it doesn't have to cost a lot. Now, one of the things I also like to do with employees is, at the end of the year, if we've profited all this money, share that with the employees as well. There's always enough to go around, trust me. There's always enough to go around. Now, the next thing that will help you in attracting the right subcontractors as well is you have to narrow your focus. You need to know what agencies you're working with, what prime contractors you're working with, and what type of opportunities you're looking for. Because if you're all over the place, saying, well, I don't know what I'm going to offer to the government. I'm thinking about doing, I don't know. And they come with me running the gamut. I'm going to do supplies. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like 5 different things. Well, that's 5 different agencies possibly, and a whole bunch of different prime contractors you need to be looking at, and a whole bunch of different subcontractors, vendors you may need. So if you narrow your focus, especially in the beginning, and find your sweet spot, then you can find the right subcontractors that you can work with over and over again. And so that leads into being the expert in one thing. Because when you're the expert in one thing, say, I know you. Well, I know what subcontractors would be good to work with you because I know what you're doing. So be known for that one thing. You can do other things, but be known for that one thing. Like that's your sweet spot. And then dominate in that one area. Build a team that will help you in dominating that one area and helping you ultimately fulfill your vision and hit your goals. Now, the next thing is the marketing and business development. These are 2 things you should always be doing in your business. I talk about this in phase 5 of my Contractor's Edge Bootcamp, where we talk about PACE. So you always should be generating leads. And here's another thing. If you get the right subcontractors, although they may not can sit in the prime position, or the project could just be more than they can handle, they'll bring it to you. So they'll bring opportunities to you as well when you treat them right. Remember, communication, feeding them, they feed you, having their back. Yeah. So create a system and process around generating these leads. System and process around finding high quality subcontractors. And then also, you can always join us in one of our programs if you don't know how to do that on your own. And of course, we cover other things, but you can always check it out, the Contractor's Edge Bootcamp. You can also keep leads coming in via email and phone. So I'm not going to get into how I want to contract via email here today, but it's possible. Anything's possible, okay? So be open to that as well. That means you have to read your emails and answer the phone sometime. And if you can't answer it, my God, check your voicemail and return calls. I cannot believe how many people don't answer the phone and don't check their emails for like weeks at a time. Do you know what you're missing out on if a potential opportunity come in through your email? Because that's how most of your prime contractors are going to reach out to you initially. They're going to send it to you via email. And if you don't reply, they're going to assume you're not interested in that. So you got to check your emails. You got to answer the phone. Now, at the end of the day, all things being said, keep your subcontractors happy. They don't like working with people that's not nice. And I don't mean overly nice, but nobody wants to work for somebody that's always grouchy. Example. In the past, there was someone on my team that we all knew if he didn't have breakfast in the morning, it was going to be a rough morning for everybody. So here's what contractors, subcontractors, even employees started doing. If they knew he was running late from a meeting or something coming to the site and he didn't have breakfast, they figure, oh, he didn't have breakfast. Oh, they're going to have breakfast there for him, because if not, it's going to be a rough day for everybody. So I'm not saying be like that, but just see and understand through that how the subcontractors, even the employees, was also feeding into him so that it would be a great day for everybody and the relationship would be great. But you could just be nice from the beginning, right? Don't take out whatever's going on with you at home and that kind of thing with your subcontractors. That's not right. That's not fair. It's not ethical. And also, make sure you pay them on time. Whatever you agreed upon, make sure you stick to that. If something changes, because it just has to, because maybe something changed with you and the client or customer, let them know. That's where the communication comes into play. So as soon as you know, you should be letting them know if something changed, which theoretically, usually it does not, but I'm just saying if it did, you should let them know. Or if maybe they missed the paperwork in their filings to get paid, let them know that too. And then don't nickel and dime them. This is something we hear too often with subcontractors, and that's why some people don't like being a sub, and why some won't work for certain companies, because they always nickel and dime them. Here's where they do it. They allow you to submit your bid and they say, okay, yep, that's great. Now, as we get to the end of the project, as the prime, they're looking at their profit margin going down, maybe because they had some changes or some things they left out, whatever the reason, profit margin is shrinking. So how are they going to try to get it back up? They're going to start nickel and diming their subcontractors and try to get it from there. So don't do that. Don't nickel and dime your subcontractors. Honor the agreement, and don't start doing a bunch of back charges just because, or making things up. Okay. So I know that was a lot. I know it was a lot. So you can always go back, hit replay, watch this again. And then if you're struggling in finding and keeping good subcontractors, reach out. Let's see how I can help you in building your pipeline of some great subcontractors, and then even growing your business as a government contractor. You can reach out to us at support@FeliciaStreeter.com. And yeah, let's see how I can help you. Now, I also have a free resource. If you don't have it, your 5 keys to your $1 million year. I'll put the link down below for that as well. Check that out. That'll help you in identifying gaps you may currently have as you're making the move to government contracting. Great resource. Check that out. And then be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Like this video and leave a comment. All right, leave a comment. And then remember, you're just one contract away. Bye for now.